Hello everyone, this is part 4 video on past year NEET questions from the chapter electrochemistry. Those who are looking at it can probably take a look at the other 3 parts also, so that you will have the continuity. We will start with a question that has come in 2010 paper. It's a straight question. It's a question based on the fundamental idea of how do we find the EMF value of a cell. Okay. So consider the following relations for EMF of electrochemical cell. So what is electrochemical cell? Like the Daniell cell or any of these cells that will use the chemical reaction happening inside the cell. Like we have in Daniell cell what we have: zinc electrode that will act as an anode. Always we will keep our anode on the LHS, and copper electrode that will act as a cathode, that will be generally kept in the RHS. So this is a typical electrochemical cell. Now for the electrochemical cell, right, the cell EMF value we can find it either by using the reduction potential values or by using the oxidation potential values. Now not to confuse between what this reduction potential and oxidation potential. See, as a standard, right, we now only follow one potential. So whenever we say electrode potential, what we are referring to is the reduction potential. That is the standard that we follow. So as per this formula, right, so what we have, E cell is equal to the cathode reduction potential minus anode. So this is the normal cell potential formula we have: cathode reduction potential minus anode reduction potential. Okay. Now if you look at these options, they are not just talking in terms of the reduction potentials, they are also talking in terms of the oxidation potentials. So how do we understand the oxidation potential concept? See, for any reaction, let's say for example we have a metal gaining electrons to form the metal ion, gaining electrons to form the metal. This is what this step is: reduction. Let's say for this the potential is what we call as a reduction potential, E1. If you reverse the reaction, metal giving rise to metal ion and electrons, that is the oxidation step. So for this the potential we will call it as what? Oxidation potential. Same reaction, when we reverse the phenomena, right, reduction becomes oxidation. So if E2 is the potential for this oxidation, right, so it is the reverse of it, means it will be what? Minus of E1. So oxidation potential is nothing but what? Minus of reduction potential. For any electrode, oxidation potential is what? Minus of reduction potential. Same way we can also say reduction potential is minus of oxidation potential. Now if you look at this, right, there are 4 options given to us. We have to check which of these relations are correct. So we'll just go one by one. Look at option 1. EMF of a cell is equal to oxidation potential of anode minus the reduction potential of cathode. See, this is the normal formula. What is the normal formula? Reduction potential of cathode minus reduction potential of anode. Okay. This we have to change. How we have to change? We should not talk about the reduction potential of anode, we should talk about the oxidation potential of the anode. So if you convert, right, minus of reduction potential means what? Oxidation potential, isn't it? So we can say the cell EMF is equal to what? The reduction potential of the cathode plus oxidation potential of the anode. Option 1 is saying what? Oxidation potential of anode minus reduction potential of cathode. This is not correct. Okay. Then option 2 is saying what? Oxidation potential of anode plus reduction potential of cathode. This is correct. Oxidation potential of anode plus reduction potential of cathode. Then now we look at option 3. Option 3 is talking in terms of what? Reduction potential of anode plus reduction potential of cathode. This is not correct, right? What is our normal formula? The cathode reduction potential minus anode reduction potential. Okay. Then look at the 4th one. Oxidation potential of anode minus oxidation potential of cathode. See, if you look at this formula, right, what is this? Cathode reduction potential minus anode reduction potential. So if you try to express this in terms of oxidation potential, right, so reduction potential of cathode means what? Minus oxidation potential of cathode. Already we have minus reduction potential of anode, right? Means what? Plus oxidation potential of anode. If you look at this formula, what is it? the oxidation potential of anode minus oxidation potential of cathode. So which of them are appropriate? Both 2 as well as 4. The correct answer is what? Option D. So all that we are looking at is what? The relation between, for any electrode, what is the relation between the oxidation potential and reduction potential? Reduction potential is equal to minus of oxidation potential, or oxidation potential is equal to minus of reduction potential. So using that we can, so what is our normal formula that we will use? E cell is equal to what? We always talk in terms of, as a standard convention, now we only talk by using the reduction potential values for any electrode. So reduction potential of the cathode minus reduction potential of the anode, that is the normal formula that we use for calculating the cell EMF. But if you have to also talk it in terms of the oxidation potential, what is the conversion we have to use? For any electrode, reduction potential we can write it as what? Negative of oxidation potential, or oxidation potential can be written as what? Negative of reduction potential. Clear? Let's move on to the next question. This is a question that has come in 2009. It's based on the Faraday's laws. Aluminum oxide is reduced by electrolysis at low potential and high current. What is the current value? 4 into 10 power 4 amperes. Passing through the molten Al2O3 for 6 hours. See, current is in amperes, right? Time is 6 hours. Means if you are converting this into seconds, means how many seconds? 6 into each hour is what? That 60 minutes, and each minute is 60 seconds. Okay, so this is the time value in seconds. Assume 100% current efficiency, means 100% of the electrical energy used is basically resulting in the formation of the aluminum. Okay, so which means whatever the charge that is provided by the passing of current, the entire charge is being used for the reduction of the aluminum, because from Al2O3 aluminum is in which state? +3 state, right? In the aluminum metal state, aluminum will be in the zero oxidation state, so aluminum is getting reduced. So the Faraday's equation for the electrolysis is what? Weight of the substance deposited is equal to Z. Z is what? Electrochemical equivalent. This will be a property of the type of ions. So Z into I into T. I is what? Current we are passing, and T is the time. So what is the relation between Z and equivalent weight? Equivalent weight is equal to Z into 96,500. 96,500 is what? The Faraday's constant. Otherwise Z will be E by 96,500. So that's why, you know, we can also write the formula like this. W is equal to what? E by 96,500 into I into T. Okay, so here E is what? Equivalent weight. Aluminum, what is the charge of aluminum? +3, right? So the valency is what? 3. So equivalent weight is equal to, atomic weight of aluminum is 27 by what is the valency? 3, which means what? 9. What is the equivalent weight of aluminum here? 9. So by substituting this, right, what we will have? W is equal to what? E by 96,000, 9 by 96,500 into I is what? 4 into 10 power 4 into time. We should take the time in seconds, so that the total charge, right, the charge will be in which unit? It will be in the units of coulombs. Okay, so the simplification will be giving us approximately what is the, and you know, the weight will be in grams. So whatever is the unit of equivalent weight, what is the unit? Gram. The weight of the substance formed also will be in the same unit. So if you simplify it, it will be coming as what? 8.1 into 10 power 4 grams. It's a straight question. So for the Faraday's laws of electrolysis, right, we have these two formulae. Either we use this formula, W is equal to E by 96,500 into I into T. This formula, when we use it, this I into T must give us charge in coulombs. Otherwise we have another formula, W is equal to E into Q, where Q is charge in Faradays. Because what is 1 Faraday? 1 Faraday is charge on 1 mole of electrons. So if you have 1 mole of electrons charge, means exactly we will be getting the equivalent weight of the substance deposited. Okay, so the answer for this is option A. Let's move on to the next question. This is a question that has come in the year 2009. The equivalent conductance of a M by 32, means they are giving us the molar concentration. M by 32 means what? They are giving us the molar concentration or molarity. The equivalent conductance of a M by 32 solution of weak monobasic acid. Weak monobasic acid means what? The acid of the type HA is 8 MHO mo. Mo is also the ohm inverse can be also written as what? Mo centimeter square. And at infinite dilution, what is the value of this? 400. The dissociation constant of this acid is. So we have to find what is the dissociation constant of the acid. See what they are giving us. They are giving us the equivalent conductance at the given concentration, and they are also giving us what is the equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. So if you remember, we have a correlation. The equivalent conductance at that concentration of M by 32, this will be relating to a particular degree of ionization, alpha. At infinite dilution means the total dissociation is what? The fraction of dissociation is going to be 1. So if you look at the ratio of the two, the ratio of the equivalent conductance at a given concentration by equivalent conductance at infinite dilution. You can also talk in terms of the molar. So we have the molar conductance at a given concentration divided by molar conductance at infinite dilution, either equivalent or molar, whichever. The ratio is going to give us what? Alpha. Alpha is the degree of dissociation at that particular concentration. Means the equivalent conductance at the given concentration is 8 divided by 400. Means what is it? 1 by 50, which is 2 into 10 power minus 2. That is our alpha value. Now this is a monobasic acid, right? If you recall the dissociation of the monobasic acid, the way we will do in the ionic equilibrium, HA is dissociating means it will give us H plus and A minus. If C is the concentration, C alpha will be dissociated, C alpha is formed, C alpha is formed. So K, the dissociation constant will be equal to what? C alpha into C alpha by C into 1 minus alpha. So since alpha is taken as very small value, right, what we will do is we will neglect the value of alpha in the denominator. So what we will have, the value of dissociation constant K will be equal to C into alpha square. This is what we have in the Ostwald's dilution law, the ionic equilibrium chapter. So from here what we will see, the value of alpha will be root of Ka by C. So we will conclude that as we increase dilution, increasing dilution means what? C will decrease, right? The alpha value is going to increase. So that is the concept of the Ostwald's dilution law. With increasing dilution, the extent of dissociation of the acid will be what? Increasing, or the base, because the Ostwald's dilution law is valid both for the weak acids as well as weak bases. Now here our question is not about that. We are just supposed to find what is the dissociation constant of the acid. So this is where we keep saying that the questions in electrochemistry are related to the questions of ionic equilibrium. Sometimes we can also relate the questions in electrochemistry to thermodynamics. Okay, so we'll see. In fact, I think in the same video also we have some questions where we will relate the electrochemistry problem to thermodynamics. Anyway, so here what is the thing? The dissociation constant is what? K value is what? Here after cancelling one C, remaining is what? C into alpha square. That is the dissociation constant K. In this C is given to us. What is C value? M by 32, and alpha is what? 2 in 10 power minus 2. So C into alpha, which will be what? Approximately, this is 1 by 8 into 10 power minus 4, means we can write it as what? 10 by 8 into 10 power minus 5, that is 1.25 into 10 power minus 5. So once we get to this, it's just the substitution. So what is the correct answer for this? It is option D. Next we have a question that has come in 2008. This is a little tricky question. I'll tell you why. On the basis of the following E0 values, the strongest oxidizing agent is. So they are giving us the E0 values. What are the E0 values given to us? FeCN64 minus gives rise to FeCN63 minus plus electron. Here the E0 value is given as what? Minus 0.35. Means if you just look at this equation, right, this is not reduction. What is this? This is the oxidation. This reaction is not reduction, this is the oxidation. Means the potential they are giving, right, what is this? This is actually the oxidation potential. This is the oxidation potential. Similarly, in the second case, right, Fe2 plus becoming Fe3 plus and electron. This is also what? This is also the oxidation potential. So what they are giving us is not the reduction potential values, they are giving us the oxidation potential values. Now the question is, on the basis of these values, we have to choose which is the strongest oxidizing agent. See, whenever we have a question like this, we will go back to our conventional area. So we are more used to working in terms of the reduction potentials, right? So for the first reaction, let me just call them as what? First and second. For the first one, if we are talking in terms of the reduction potential, what will be the reduction potential? I think in previous problem we were discussing, for any equation that if you reverse it means the potential will become negative. So minus of minus 0.35 means what? It will be plus 0.35. That is the reduction potential. Second reaction, minus of minus 0.77. What is it? It will be plus 0.77. So the reduction of Fe3 plus. For the reduction of Fe3 plus, right? Reverse means what? Fe3 plus will be reduced. The reduction of Fe3 plus, what is the potential? Plus 0.77. Reduction of FeCN6 3 minus, what is the potential? 0.35. Which is higher? The Fe3 plus is actually higher, that is 0.77. And FeCN6 3 minus is lower, 0.35. This is how they will be appearing in the standard reduction potential series. This is how they will be appearing in the standard reduction potential series. Now when you take a look at these values, right, what is the thing? Whichever is at the top, that will easily undergo reduction. Means that will have high oxidizing power. So whichever is able to easily undergo reduction, that means what? It can easily oxidize the others. Means that is having high oxidizing power. So we can also say that is the strongest oxidizing agent. So what is the question they are asking? Which is the strongest oxidizing agent? So what will be the answer for this one? Fe3 plus. The strongest oxidizing agent will be what? Fe3 plus. The reason why I said this is a tricky question is because if you observe the equations they are expressing, they are not giving the reduction step, they are actually giving us the oxidation step. So the values, right, the E0 minus 0.35 and minus 0.77, they are corresponding to what? The oxidation steps. If you look at the reduction means we have to reverse the reaction. The reduction potential values will be what? Negative of oxidation potential. So from there we arrange them as per the order in the reduction potential series, means high reduction potential at the top, low reduction potential at the bottom. Then whichever is at the top that can easily undergo reduction means that will be a good oxidizing agent and that will have the strongest oxidizing power also. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. This is a straight question based on the idea of the Kohlrausch law. So Kohlrausch law states we have to go through 4 options and then conclude. Infinite dilution, each ion makes definite contribution to the conductance of the electrolyte, whatever be the nature of the other ion of the electrolyte. So this is actual definition of the Kohlrausch law. If you look at the limiting molar conductivity, say for example we will talk about NaCl. The limiting molar conductivity of NaCl will be what? The molar conductivity of Na plus the molar conductivity of Cl minus. If you look at the limiting molar conductivity of MgCl2, it will be what? The molar conductivity of magnesium ions plus, because MgCl2 gives 1 magnesium and 2 chloride ions, 2 times the molar conductivity of the chloride ions. So here in both the formula, right, we are not looking at, so if we are having a chloride ions, we are not looking at whether along with chloride ions, whether it is a Na plus or Mg plus. So each ion is making definite contribution. the number of times it appears in the formula of the substance. So the molar conductivities, right, will be multiplied by the number of times they appear in the substance. Similarly, if you are talking in terms of the equivalent conductivity, right, the lambda naught equivalent will be equal to what? Lambda naught for the cations, the equivalent conductivity of the cations plus the equivalent conductivity of the anions. Here the multiplication factor will not be there. The equivalent conductivity will be what? Will be nothing but, because equivalent conductivity means what? Conductivity coming from the substance that can exchange 1 mole of electrons. So that will be equal to what? So cation side will have substance which is equal to exactly 1 equivalent. Anion side also will have substance which is equal to 1 equivalent. So equivalent conductivity of any electrolyte is equal to what? The equivalent conductivity of the cations plus equivalent conductivity of the anions. So whether we talk about the molar conductivity or equivalent conductivity, what we are saying is each ion is going to make definite contribution for the conductance when we talk about the infinite dilution. So what is the correct answer? The answer is what? Option A. If we look at the other options, right, so we can just read the B statement. Infinite dilution, each ion makes definite contribution to the equivalent conductance of the electrolyte, whatever be the nature of the other electrolyte. See, this is not just related to the equivalent conductance, it is also referring to what? The molar conductance. Whether we will talk in terms of the molar conductance or in terms of the equivalent conductance, we are referring to the definite contribution made by these ions irrespective of what is the counterpart. So this is not appropriate. Look at option C, finite dilution, gone. Why? Because the Kohlrausch law itself is talking about the infinite dilution. Option D, infinite dilution, each ion makes definite contribution to the equivalent conductance of the electrolyte depending upon the nature of the other ion. No, that is wrong. It does not depend upon the nature of the other ion. Let's move on to the next question. This is a question that has come in the year 2008 and this is also based on the use of the delta G calculations that we will talk in the thermodynamics chapter. So unlike the other chapters, right, generally if you look at the NEET questions, what we observe across the chapters is, at least in the recent years, we see that the level of questions or the application level of questions rather is little bit more in comparison to the past years. Like if you look at questions from 2008 or 2005, 1990s, we'll see easier level of questions, so to say, okay, or rather straight questions. But if you look at the electrochemistry chapter, right, we'll see most of the questions in little bit earlier times, like 2005, 2008, that range, right. We will see the questions over there happen to be little bit more numerically challenging than what we are seeing in the recent years, okay. But anyway, so this is just one remark maybe we can keep in mind. The standard free energies of formation, what is this? Delta G naught formation at 298 Kelvin, the values are given in what? Kilojoule per mole. Minus 237.2, minus 394.4 and minus 8.2 for which of the substances? H2O, CO2 and pentane respectively. The value of E naught cell for the pentane oxygen fuel cell is, what do you mean by the pentane oxygen fuel cell? It's basically the pentane that is undergoing the reaction with oxygen, not the combustion. Combustion is what happens outside, it's happening inside the fuel cell, okay. And we need to find what is the E naught value for the particular pentane oxygen fuel cell. So how do we get the E naught value? If we can look at what is the overall cell equation. So what is pentane formula? C5H12. It will combine with oxygen to produce CO2 and H2O. So let's just try to balance it, because we have to look at the balanced equation. So 5 carbons are there, so we'll have a 5 here, and 12 hydrogens means we have to put a 6. Totally 6 oxygens and 5 2s are 10, 16 oxygens are coming, so we must have a 8 here. So this is the balanced equation. If you look at this as a redox reaction, then for this, if we know what is the del G naught for the reaction, then we can say del G naught is equal to what? Minus N into F into E naught. If you think about it like a reaction happening inside a cell, that's what happens in the fuel cell, right? So del G naught for the reaction is equal to what? Del G naught for the reaction is equal to minus NF into the E naught for the cell. So here the thing is, before we go and do the substitution part, right? So we are left with finding what is the del G naught itself. For the given equation, we don't know what is the del G naught. What is given to us is the standard free energies of formation of what are the substances? H2O, CO2 and pentane. So in thermodynamics, right, we will say that if we have the standard free energy of formation of any substance, because standard free energy of formation means what? The reaction where we will form 1 mole of that substance from the basic constituents. We will form 1 mole of the substance from the basic constituents. Okay. So when we are forming 1 mole of the substance from the basic constituents, right, their standard free energy value is taken as what? 0. The basic constituents, their standard free energy value is taken as what? 0. So which means in that case, the standard free energy of formation of any substance will be equal to the free energy of the particular substance at standard conditions. This is an important thing. So if you talk about the standard free energy of formation for H2O, what is it? Minus 237.2 means at standard conditions the free energy value of H2O will be what? Minus 237.2. Similarly, the free energy value of CO2 will be what at the standard conditions? Minus 394.4. Similarly, the free energy value of pentane at standard conditions will be equal to what? Minus 8.2. Other than that, we have oxygen in the elementary form. So the standard conditions, this is the basic constituent. Oxygen will be in the form of O2. The standard free energy value for O2 will be what? 0. So for all these basic constituents, as a reference we will take the values as what? 0. Now for the overall reaction, if you look at it, right, what is the overall reaction? Product we have 5 moles of CO2 and 6 moles of H2O. Reactant we have 1 mole of pentane and 8 moles of O2. Means del G naught for the reaction is equal to what? 5 times of CO2. CO2 is what? Minus 394.4. Okay. Then plus 6 times of H2O. What is H2O? Minus 237.2. This is the products. Okay. Minus of reactant side is what? 8 moles of O2, but free energy of O2 is what? 0. Basic constituent. So that will not be counted. We have to subtract the 1 mole. 1 mole means no multiplication factor. Minus 8.2. So if you look at this value, right, so this on simplification we will get del G naught value will be equal to what? Minus 3387. Unit will be what? Kilojoule per mole. What is the del G naught value? Minus 3387 kilojoule per mole. Now here for this particular cell reaction, right, 8 O2 molecules are becoming oxide ions. See, means what? 16 oxygen atoms are becoming what? 16 oxide ions. So the number of electrons gained by the oxygen will be what? 16 to the 32. So which means the value of N is equal to what? 32. So from here the E naught value, right, so E naught value will be equal to what? Minus 3387 into 10 power 3 kilo joule per mole divided by minus N is 32 into F. What is F? 96,500 coulomb per mole. So here also mole will be cancelled and joule per coulomb will be what? Volt. Joule per coulomb will be volt and minus will be cancelled. So if we simplify this, right, the value will be coming approximately 1.0968. So here the relation between the electrochemistry part and thermodynamics is coming, where for finding the del G naught value for the reaction. So here we are using thermodynamic principles. When we know the standard state, the free energies of the formation of any substance as a convention, right, that is going to be the free energy of that particular substance at that standard condition. Means for the H2O, what is the free energy value at the standard condition? Minus 237.2. For CO2, minus 394.4. For pentane, minus 8.2. For O2, the standard free energy value will be 0 because O2, H2, Cl2, N2, all these are what? Carbon, graphite. All these are the basic form, basic constituents. All of their free energy values at standard state are taken as what? 0. That is the difference. So we get the del G naught value for the reaction, and del G naught will be equal to what? Minus NF into E naught cell. So N value, how do we calculate? 16 oxygen atoms, because 8 molecules of O2 means 16 oxygen atoms. Finally, each oxygen is converting itself into oxide ion. Means 16 oxygen atoms are becoming 16 oxide ions. Each oxygen requires 2 electrons. 16 means 16 into 2, 32 electrons are required. So the N value, number of electrons exchanged, is what? 32. So on simplification, we will get the value as 1.0968. So this is the reason why I said the questions which have come in little bit earlier years, right? In this particular chapter, we see that they are kind of, numerically little bit more intensive than what we are seeing in the recent years. Anyway, so let's move to the next question. This is a question that has come in the year 2007. The equilibrium constant, means we have to find the equilibrium constant, K equilibrium or Kc, whatever we represent. The equilibrium constant of the reaction is given copper plus 2 Ag plus, means Ag plus ions are getting reduced, giving rise to copper 2 plus and Ag. E naught value at 290 Kelvin is what? 0.46 volt. We have to find the equilibrium constant. So how do you find the equilibrium constant? We have a relation. Normal Nernst equation is what? E cell is equal to E naught cell, general equation, minus 2.303 RT by NF log QC. That is general equation. So if temperature is 298 means it will be what? E naught cell minus 0.0591 by N into log QC. E cell is equal to what? E naught cell minus 0.0591 by N into log QC. This is the Nernst equation. Here when we talk about the equilibrium, right, E cell will be 0 and QC becomes what? Kc. So then we will have the relation. What is the relation? E naught cell, just by taking it to the other side, right, E naught cell will be equal to what? 0.0591 by N into log Kc. This is if the temperature is unchanged, same as the 298 Kelvin. So in this Kc is what? Equilibrium constant. N is what? Number of electrons involved. So what is the number of electrons involved here? We can see copper becoming copper 2 plus means 2 electrons. 2 Ag plus becoming 2 Ag means same 2 electrons. So the number of electrons involved is what? 2. Now we just have to go and substitute, right? So E naught value is given as what? 0.46 and N is 2. So if we substitute, what we will get? E naught 0.46 is equal to what? 0.0591 by 2 into log Kc. Means log Kc will be what? 2 will go to the numerator, 0.0591 will come to the denominator. So 2 into 0.46 by 0.0591. So if we simplify this, it will be coming as what? The log Kc value will be coming as 15.57. See, if log Kc is 15.57, right, means what is a logarithm? Means the decimal logarithm, right? 15.57. Okay, so means the Kc value will be 10 to the power of 15.57. What is the Kc value going to be? 10 to the power of 15.57. Means the Kc value will be equal to what? 10 power 15 into 10 power 0.57. So if you look at the approximate value, right, we should be having it as what? The power of 10 should be what? 10 power 15. So by that itself we will be able to conclude. So if we check these options, right, only in one option we have 10 power 15. Others are not having 10 power 15. 10 power 0 is what? 1. 10 power 1 is 10. Means this number must be between 1 to 10. Okay. And if you look at what will be the actual value, so this will be what? 10 power 0.57 will be nearly 3.7, or we can say it is what, close to 4 into 10 power 15. And that's why we keep saying that while solving questions in competitive examinations, right, it is not like we have to arrive at the real final answer in terms of the correct decimal place, etc. So it is about how quickly we are able to arrive at the approximate answer by making meaningful approximations. It is not like we'll make some gross approximations and end up getting a wrong answer. Clear? If it is a question in the board exams and all, that means you will have the log tables to be used, because here, you know, in NEET we will not be able to use the logarithmic table. Sometimes what they do is they themselves will give, they will say use 10 power 0.7 as 4, like that they will give. Then, you know, we have to take those values. Okay, so the correct answer for this is what? Approximately 4 into 10 power 15. So this tells us what? So if you look at the equilibrium constant, right, remember in equilibrium chapter we will talk about it. The magnitude of the equilibrium constant. You look at the magnitude. What is the magnitude? 10 power 15. So when the equilibrium constant is value is very high, what does it represent? It represents that the reaction is going to proceed more towards the product side. Means when we reach equilibrium, right, we are predominantly going to be having what? Products. If the equilibrium constant value is very less, means at the equilibrium stage we will be mainly having just reactants only. Okay, so this is about the question. Next we have another theoretical question based on the fuel cell. The efficiency of a fuel cell is given by. So we need to find what is the efficiency of a fuel cell. So fuel cell, generally it can be used for any fuel. Like in one of the previous problem we talked about what? The fuel cell for the pentane. And normally the hydrogen fuel cells, right, they are the popular ones in terms of the usage, etc., because they are used in very specialized cases, like in spacecrafts also. So what is this fuel cell? You will have a fuel which will otherwise undergo combustion to be pumped into this fuel cell. Instead of having an actual combustion, there will be an exchange of electrons. Like, you know, hydrogen will lose electrons to form H+, and oxygen will gain electrons that will come through the external circuit to form oxide ions. The H+ and O2- will combine to form water. This is the typical working. So instead of having a combustion reaction, here the reaction is happening by the exchange of electrons. Now every fuel cell, right, will have a reaction. Like, you know, for here also we can look at a reaction. Like, you know, we can talk about the reaction. So what will be the reaction? If you have 2 moles of H2 combining with 1 mole of O2, we can say this is going to give us what? 2 moles of H2O. For this reaction we can have an enthalpy change. So enthalpy change represents what? The total energy difference between the products and the reactants. Now this is the maximum, I mean, you know, so this is the maximum energy difference that we can see. Total energy of the product minus total energy of the reactants. So if you look at the efficiency, how do you define the efficiency? Whatever is the useful electrical work, because here we are able to get the energy out in the form of electricity, right? In the fuel cell we are able to get the electrons out, and we will look at what is the useful energy which comes out in the form of electrical work divided by the enthalpy change of the reaction. That is how we will define the efficiency. So here the useful energy means for the cell reaction, right? If you look at the cell reaction, what is the useful energy we can think about? The useful energy is what? Delta G. This is what we call as the Gibbs free energy change. So the enthalpy change represents what is the total energy difference between the products and the reactants. This enthalpy change will not be coming in the form of useful work. What is the form that will come in the form of useful work? That is only delta G. So this delta G fully will be converted into a useful work electricity if we are performing this in the fuel cell. Otherwise it will not happen. So if you talk about a fuel cell, right, then this useful energy will be equal to what? Delta G. Because that is what, if you look at any electrical or, you know, electrochemical cell, right, the cell EMF value will be related to the del G of the cell reaction. Del G is equal to what? minus NF into E cell. So the useful work here will be equal to what? Delta G, because this is happening in the fuel cell. So the fuel cell, the ideal efficiency value will be equal to what? Useful work we can get, which is delta G divided by the total energy difference between the products and the reactants, which is delta H. So the correct answer for this is what? Option B. The efficiency value of the fuel cell will be equal to what? Delta G by delta H. Because efficiency always we will talk in terms of what is the useful work we are able to obtain. Clear? Next we have another straight question. It's a question that has come in 2006. A hypothetical electrochemical cell is shown below. What is the electrochemical cell hypothetical? A bar A plus X molar concentration means what? Remember always our LHS is what? LHS is always anode. B plus, we can see what is happening here, oxidation is happening here. A is converting into A plus. Double bar will come, this is the standard cell notation. B plus Y molar giving rise to B. This is what? This is the right hand side is always what? Cathode. So RHS is cathode, LHS part is what? Always anode. The EMF of the measured cell is what? 0.2. The cell reaction is. So we have to just tell what is the cell reaction. So how do you find cell reaction? We have to separately write the oxidation reaction and reduction and then add both of them. So if you look at it, right, anode, what is happening? A is converting into A plus, 1 electron exchange. Cathode, B plus is converting into B. Here it will gain 1 electron. That is the reduction part. This is the oxidation part. Okay. And this is the reduction part. So what we need to find? We need to find overall cell reaction, right? So what will be the overall cell reaction? We have to add both of them. If you add both of them, electron will be cancelled. So when we are adding the anode half reaction and cathode half reaction, right, we have to make sure that both the sides, the number of electrons are same. In fact, this is what we will do in the balancing method also. Remember, we will talk about the balancing method of redox reactions. So there are two methods of balancing of the redox reactions. One is what? Oxidation number method, and second is the half reaction method. Half reaction method is also called as what? Ion electron method. Half reaction method is also called as what? Ion electron method. So in ion electron method, what we will do? We will separately write down the oxidation half reaction, reduction half reaction. When we are finally adding them, right, we will make sure that both the sides, the number of electrons are same. That's when they will cancel. So you can see there 1 electron here and 1 electron here. They will get cancelled. So finally what we will have? LHS is what? A plus B plus will be equal to what? A plus and B. So what is the cell reaction here? Option A. A plus B ion gives rise to what? A ion and B. So this is about the part 4 video, and we will see in the next part.